Once in one of my urban news episodes, I've mentioned the new center project in Warsaw, Poland, where streets are being redesigned with a more human-centered approach. But then it left more questions than answers because this project is quite large, complex, and consists of many different elements. So I wrote a letter to the Warsaw City Council and eventually spoke to Michał Lejk, who is the delegate for the Mayor of Warsaw for the new center project. He told me a lot of interesting things, sent me a presentation with facts and numbers, and then even recorded for me a special video with answers to my questions, so that it was short, to the point, and with a nice picture. That's incredible.
When we think of the new center of Warsaw concept in the terms of the map, we are now focusing of the square limited by the four main streets, which are Aleje Jerozolimskie, Marszałkowska, Świętokrzyska and Nowy Świat. Those are the transportation hubs, the points of interest of the as well citizens and the businesses. You cannot forget about our new project, which is the new Central Park in the feet of the Palace of Culture, which is for the most of the people, both citizens and the visitors, the symbol of Warsaw. Our urban planning process, it's not like the few guys locked behind the steel doors. On the contrary, it's a comprehensive process involving the citizens and all the stakeholders living or doing business here in the new center of Warsaw.
In general, the new center of Warsaw includes 15 separate projects in the central part of the city, 5 of which are already completed, 7 are now under construction, and 3 more are currently being designed. And here are some of the completed projects. For example, this is Three Crosses Square, or Plac Trzech Krzyży in Polish. I wouldn't say that it has changed radically, but in general, after the renovation, there are fewer car lanes, and instead there is a bicycle infrastructure appeared with trees and other landscaping. And also this large open parking was replaced by greenery. It has clearly improved, but in my opinion it could be even better if the traffic was only on one side of the church, so that it wasn't standing on an island between traffic flows. Another major completed project is the Rondo of the 40th anniversary, or Rondo 40-latka, at the intersection of John Paul II Avenue and Jerusalem Avenue. This is a huge and wide multi-level traffic intersection, and it used to be a big problem for pedestrians and cyclists who could cross it only by underpasses. A real dream of Le Corbusier. Now there are surface crossings, bicycle infrastructure, landscaping, benches, and fewer car lanes, 3 in each direction instead of the previous 4 or even 5. At the same time, car drivers have also become more comfortable due to the changes in traffic light settings. Another completed project, which is perhaps one of my favorites, is the reconstruction of Five Corners Square. In Polish it's named Plac Pięciu Rogów. This is a fairly small square, and before the reconstruction it was a solid field of asphalt with narrow sidewalks and no greenery at all. At the same time, both the square and the surrounding streets suffered from chaotic parking, and residents complained about the heavy air pollution. After consulting with the community and analyzing all their needs, the square was transformed into a cozy public space. There were planted 22 mature maple trees, which are already providing shade, street furniture was installed, and instead of asphalt, the square was paved with seamless stone slabs. Now the square has the status of residential area. Transit traffic is forbidden, and only residents and local business staff can enter. Residents have their separated parking zones, while businesses have got special unloading areas, and the speed limit has been set at 20 km/h. As for me, the place now looks gorgeous, and it's a great example of how much the space design influences on the city's perception. The houses themselves are the same, but the atmosphere is completely different.
The citizens' perception of the changes we're implying vary from the big enthusiastic to quite opposite. It's because the needs of the citizens are different. The main concern is the lack of the parking spaces, which is not that much concern because We're planning to leave all those spaces for the residents with a special resident permit, and for the all visitors, we're building the huge underground parking with 420 spaces. We're quite sure that the way we are heading is right, because 2 weeks ago we had our municipal elections when the Mayor of Warsaw voted in the first round, having his second term in the office of the Mayor of Warsaw. The project development process is complex and may last from 5 to 10 years. Of course, it all starts from the scratch. Then we discuss with the people. We are trying to choose the best solution, both for the citizens, for the visitors, and for the businesses. When it comes to the final stage, it's in most cases the architectural contest. We have the jury consisting of professionals, of people that are on the daily basis dealing with Warsaw, and some city lovers. So always the outcome of the contest is something which is really cheered by the citizens. As for the work itself, I mean the construction, it's always the tender, when of course the price criteria is prevailing, but it's not the only criteria. The main and actually the only source of financing those projects is the Warsaw City budget with its finance master plan, and of course some small sub-budgets allocated for each project. We do not use private money, but in future we hope to involve businesses in our changing of Warsaw.
What about the ongoing projects? Probably the most notable one is the central square next to the Palace of Culture and Science. This giant skyscraper was built in 1955, and for quite a long time it was the tallest building in Warsaw. At that time it was presented as a kind of a gift from Soviet Union, but in fact it was more like a symbol of Soviet occupation. From what I've read, at some moment there was an idea to demolish it, but in the end they decided to preserve the building, but instead build up the surrounding neighborhoods with modern skyscrapers so that this tower would no longer be the only dominant building. In recent years, the eastern part of the square around the palace has looked extremely depressive, with a huge parking lot, a bus stop, and no greenery, so now the city is working to fix this situation. They carried out archaeological research on the square, installed an underground tank for collecting rainwater, and after the reconstruction it should become a much greener and more pleasant space. And a museum of contemporary art is under construction nearby. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of its architecture. It looks too utilitarian and boring to me, but in general, the fact that such a museum is coming is still good, because the main thing here is that the content doesn't disappoint. Also, they are going to remove the tunnel under Marszałkowska Street, and this will allow them to arrange a green square like this instead of the underground entrance on Złota Street. By the way, I knew that Złota Street is right here, but it was a discovery for me that it is also on the other side of Palace of Culture. Although, if you look at the pre-war plan of the city, it's quite logical. You can clearly see how much the architects of the Soviet gift didn't care about the city's planning. They just slapped their gigantic structure on top of the existing street grid and tore it up.
Parking management is one of the key areas in terms of spatial planning. We would like to make Warsaw more pedestrian friendly and to reduce the number of cars only to the minimum used by the citizens. For all visitors, we have the underground parkings, which one of them is close to this place, to Plac Pięciu Rogów. And what's interesting, it's financed by the private partner, so it's a quite new concept in Warsaw. The project, which is already ready, is a bridge over the Vistula River that connects the two banks of the Vistula. It's between the Karowa and Okrzej Street. It's a pedestrian cyclist bridge, and it's a huge attraction for the tourists and for the Warsaw citizens lately.
So, the center of Warsaw is actively changing and becoming more human-centered. At the same time, some decisions are quite compromised, and it clearly shows that each project goes through a public discussion and takes into account different points of view and different needs, which means it has high support and acceptance by the community. And the best indicator of this support is the victory of the current city government in the local elections. You know, I like doing these video interviews more and more, so if you also like this format, please write in the comments who else you would like to see here. And if you suddenly have something interesting to tell yourself, write in the comments as well. So thanks for watching and see you next time. By the way, if you like my videos and would like to support this channel's development, you can do it through Patreon or YouTube sponsorship. There are no small donations, so I'm very grateful for any support. All links are in the video's description.